Speak clearly.
Alright, my name is Alejandro Mendez. Today is Friday, August 2nd, 2013. It is about 11:40, and we are conducting an oral history for the Santa Ana Oral History Project. Can you please state your full name?
Eric Kokoletsi.
What is your date of birth and where were you born?
I was born on December 8th, 1983, in Santa Ana, California, at what used to be called Mercy Hospital, now called Coastal Communities Hospital.
Um, where are your parents' names?
My dad's name is Benny Kokoletsi, and my mom's is Esmeralda Kokoletsi.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have an older brother, Giovanni Kokoletsi, and my little sister, Nicole.
Can you speak about your father and what he did for a living?
Hold on, guys. I'm gonna cut it.
The last one?
Yeah, go.
Do you have any siblings and what are their names?
Nicole Kokoletsi, she's my little sister, and my older brother is Giovanni Kokoletsi.
Nicole. Can you speak about your father and what he did for a living?
My father grew up in Mexico. He's from Tlaxcala. It's a small state, I believe, a little south of the capital. And he grew up there. His first trade, well, he first started off farming on his dad's, my grandfather's land. But then the trade that he was, I guess maybe forcefully made to do was to become a tailor.
Mm-hmm.
So he grew up being a tailor for a good while, and he got pretty good at it. And he worked at a couple of factories in Tlaxcala as a tailor, making pants. Was one of his highest qualities, his highest traits.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came here to the U.S. He immigrated here, and he started working in L.A. as a tailor. And then he soon started selling clothes at the swap meet. And then soon after that, not soon, but a little after that, then he owned his own clothing business.
Mm-hmm.
And so after that, he pretty much became a full-fledged businessman. After that, he started his own party rental company, which he still operates today. And so I guess you could say he grew up being a tailor, and then, made it into a business. He became a businessman, essentially, owning his own business, owning properties, whatever. Yeah.
Can you speak about your mother and what she did for a living?
My mother grew up in Guanajuato, in a small place called San Francisco del Rincon, and she grew up just being a kid. Basically, she had like an elementary school education. I didn't think she went past second grade. She immigrated here in the I think late mid 70s, I think, and just worked. She just worked. That's it. She didn't do anything else. She just worked a bunch of odd jobs, whatever she can do. And then after she met my dad, they started going into business together, doing the whole selling clothes and all that.
Can you talk about where you grew up?
Well, I grew up in Santa Ana, California. I lived here my whole life. I haven't lived anywhere else. I grew up on the corners of Bristol and Segerstrom. It's like southern Santa Ana, I guess. Some people call it like South Coast Santa Ana. But anyways, I grew up there. Like, what was it like?
Yeah. Like, what was your experiences?
I had a pretty good childhood, I would say. It was interesting. It wasn't easy, but it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, I grew up in southern Santa Ana, which is predominantly mostly Caucasian. We were the only Mexican family there at the time, but maybe I didn't pay attention to any prejudices, but like I said, I had a pretty good childhood. I got along with everybody well there. I played with a lot with the neighborhood kids. I was mostly a kid that liked to go out and play in the streets. Sometimes, yeah, I'd play video games, because it was inevitable. But I mostly played outside. I liked playing sports all the time. Playing sports, riding my bike, playing marbles, doing all the things kids did in the 80s, And yeah, I think I had a pretty good, happy childhood. Went to school. It was pretty standard as far as a childhood goes.
Um, can you talk to us about some of the hobbies you had as a little kid?
Hobbies I had
Yeah.
as a kid. Like I said, I always played sports, but I was never really any good, to be honest. I was never good. I just liked doing it. I was most just like running around more than anything. Hobbies, geez, I don't know. I collected a couple things here and there. Like I collected toys, like GI Joes, collected marbles. Uh, uh, I didn't get really. I didn't get an actual hobby until about high school. So when I started playing guitar, started playing music, and I continued doing that for about 15 years. I was in a band in high school. I guess I don't know if you want to consider sports a hobby. Once again, in high school, I was in water polo and swimming. I liked listening to music all the time. I always listened to music. But yeah, I guess main hobby that I actually really considered it, that really took over my life and like really liked a lot was music. Yeah.
What elementary school did you attend? Like, and what do you remember about that school?
I went to Greenville Fundamental School over in or Greenville Elementary School, whatever. It's over on MacArthur, and I don't know the other school. Oh, the other street. I'm sorry, but it's on Greenville. I went there, and it was a good school. I liked it. I remember my parents making a big fuss about it because you had to apparently like wait in line for days and sometimes weeks just to get into that school. Parents would line up just to get in there. I think it was based on an address thing. You had to wait there and all that stuff. So, and I remember it being kind of interesting because I didn't learn English until I was 5. So when I went there, it was first grade. I kind of found it a little difficult to connect with some of the kids there and play with them sometimes because I didn't speak English that well. But I caught on pretty fast, and then I had a pretty decent time there. It was fine. I got into a lot of trouble there actually. I was a trouble case there. I did everything from vandalize to man, I would forge my parents' signatures. I would steal. I'd write dirty notes to people. Just I was a dick. I was always getting suspended, all the time. The principal there just always saw me, and the teachers. I knew the teachers. I'm sure talked about me because. Yeah, I would throw rocks at kids and stuff. Yeah, I was just a bastard. So that was probably the phase where I was most trouble to my parents. So yeah, I think that was my experience there. I was always getting in trouble, and I graduated. I had really good attendance, I guess. I didn't have good grades. I didn't have like excellent grades or anything like that. But yeah, it was a good school overall. Cool times.
What was your junior high school for? How was your junior high school for you? And what did you aspire to be when you grew up?
Junior high school was lame. I went to MacArthur. It was lame to me. I just saw it as, because I don't know, because MacArthur was right next to Saddleback. It still is.
Yeah.
It's next to Saddleback. So at the time when you're in 6th grade, it's interesting. Middle school is like, wow, trip out. You got lockers, you got different periods to go to and stuff, and that was really cool. But then around 7th grade, you start hearing about this thing called high school. You're like, oh shit, high school, Saddleback, and you start hearing it. People go to Saddleback, you go to this and that, and all that stuff. That seemed more interesting to me. You got different kinds of sports that you can really get into, and you got and you could wear whatever you wanted to. That was the other thing. MacArthur, you had uniforms. It was very depressing to me. I hated it, and I always got pushed around by the teachers, being as how like I never really wanted to do the work. But I was in a lot of different clubs. I was like in chess club. I was in diplomacy club. Diplomacy is like where they play Risk,
Yeah.
kind of like Risk, war game and all that. I was in diplomacy club. I was in journalism. That's when I first started writing. I was in journalism 6th through 8th grade, 9th grade, through I think even like all through high school. I was in journalism. that was kind of fun because they would send me to go like interview, like to go review movies or go see sports teams,
Yeah.
basketball and football or whatever, whoever we're playing in junior high. And in junior high, kids in sports, they suck. So what would happen is I'd go there, it'd be boring, and what I would do is I'd make it all up. I would make it all up. This is the first time I'm actually ever admitting on record that I made that up. I would tell my friends all the time, but yeah, I would make it up because it was boring. So I just sit there and write up all the stuff, and I tell my friends, "Hey, you want to be in the paper?" Sure, man. It's all right, cool. I need a quote. I'll think of one for you, and I'll just make it up. I make up a quote for them. Everything was always fabricated for me because reality and that school was just so boring. So I'd have to make it up. I don't do that anymore.
Not to the record.
Yeah, I do. No, I don't do that.
Um,
But yeah, that was high school for me. It was an interesting time, because you start also like girls come into it and all that, and locker rooms. That was another thing. You got to go in locker rooms now. Now you got to get naked in front of a bunch of guys. That was interesting. But it was junior high. It was that transition phase, the awkward phase.
what were your immediate plans after high school, and did you attend college?
My immediate plans after high school, like I said, I was a musician at the time. All I wanted to do was just play rock and roll. So all I would do is, all I could think about was hanging out with my friend Danny. Hanging out with my friend Danny, playing shows, playing backyard shows, going to, drink beer. I think that was around the time when I started kind of really getting into psychedelia, the whole, trippy stuff and all that stuff, and kind of dressing like a hippie a little bit, and, growing my hair out and stuff like that. That was after high school. And yeah, I went to Orange Coast College. Why did I go to Orange Coast College? I know you didn't ask me that, but why did I go? Because I ask myself that sometimes. I went, as opposed to like SAC, for example, I went to Orange Coast College because I heard two things. Number one, high transfer rate. So I was a good chance of me getting out of there and going to a good school, which I never did. Number two, though, I heard they had like the #1 recruit for Playboy Playmates. That was it. I was like, I'm going to Orange Coast College. Screw everything else. Actually, I was accepted to Cal State Fullerton, but I didn't pay some fee on time. I even took the test and everything. I was admitted. I got like all my yeah, you're in. You just got to show up and pay this fee or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just partied and I forgot to do that. So I ended up going to Orange Coast College. My immediate plans after high school, I had none really. I just wanted to play music and learn as much as I could. Go to school and take a bunch of cool classes and see where I go. I had no direction really, 0 direction.
You said that you didn't have any goals after college, right?
None really, other than the ones that they would impose on me.
Yeah.
Like you go to school and then you got to transfer. I was like, okay, so I got to go to another school after this, I guess.
What got you interested in journalism after high school?
Why wasn't I?
What got you into it? How'd you get into it?
After high school?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get into journalism after high school until about 10 years later. So I wasn't really interested in it at all. I always loved reading. I always appreciated good writing. I always read a lot of books and learned a lot of stuff, not just textbooks, but just learned a lot of different, literature. So I was always interested in writing. Journalism, like was I ever reading the paper? Nah, I wasn't ever reading the newspaper. I rarely read magazines. Journalism was never in my mind, man, to be honest with you. It was never in my mind until about a year and a half ago.
I understand you're here representing a publication named Santanero.
Yeah.
Can you speak about that? Like a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Santanero is a publication that is it's a publication written by myself and Enrique Marquez Avalos, Benjamin Russell Perry. Melina Mena, Dominic De La Riva, he's our photographer, Samuel Munoz, and whoever else wants to submit some work. You know, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. I don't think I am. No, I'm not. It's a publication basically that we created in order to promote the arts in Santa Ana. I felt that the arts weren't being represented enough in Santa Ana, and it was thought of during a time when a lot of the different changes that are happening in downtown Santa Ana that are still occurring to this day, they were really kind of starting to really shape the place in a different way, which is not bad. It wasn't bad or anything like that, you understand? Yeah. You know, everything has to change and all that, but I felt that one little aspect of that change that wasn't being, that was kind of being overlooked was the arts in Santa Ana, the artists and all that. No one was really giving a shit about them. Everyone was just like kind of sweeping them under the rug, yeah. and they were being just overlooked. And to be honest, in my personal opinion, the artists were the reason why a lot of the changes happened in the first place. In other words, they were the ones who drew the attention. They attracted people here by the masses to come down here and hang out. You know, this place was, this feeling, this vibe was created by them. You know, and then to one day, well, not one day, but to all of a sudden, you know, for them to be completely just outcasted and no longer even appreciated. Instead, like, hey, let's look at this cool new bar that's opening up. Let's look at this cool new restaurant. Let's look at this, that, and this and that. But no artists. You know, the artists are being fleshed out in a way. So that's why we started the publication. We started it in order to promote the artists. Free promotion. Make something cool, make something interesting, create a vibe, do whatever. I don't care what it is, poetry, photography, writing, anything. Send it to us. You know, we won't charge you anything. All you gotta do is put the effort out there, you know, writing a little bio and taking the picture of your art or something like that, and we will promote it. Put it out there so people see your work. That's basically why we made it. That's essentially the reasoning behind it.
So you look forward to the art walk every Saturday of the month, right?
Well, I used to a lot, but now I work a lot at my other job where I work as a cook. So I don't have Saturdays off anymore. When I do show up, it's just to show up for like the after parties. I just show up to those, and even then, those are kind of like dwindling. So, but yeah, no, I used to, but yeah, I always love coming to the art walks. I always love going to the art walks. They're a lot of fun. You always see all kinds of people that you haven't seen in a while, or people that you see too often, maybe. But yeah.
I know you used to work for Downtown Inc. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
Downtown Inc. Great people. No, they're not. Yeah, I used to work for them. What happened was I used to work for them in 2011, I believe. 2011, late 2010, possibly. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I used to work with them. I was initially brought in to work on this magazine idea that they wanted to have for the downtown area. They wanted to have that kind of a magazine of what's happening in downtown. And so they said, okay, come here, you know, this is what you're going to do. We're going to do that and this and that. I said, all right, that's cool, you know, we can do that. And so then I got my buddy Enrique, who still works on Santanero with me. And I told him, hey, dude, I need some help with this. I've never done a magazine ever. I have zero experience. I don't even know where to start. Just help me make something up. All right, cool. So we started doing it. Show them the idea. They hated it. They thought it was like terrible. They was like, yeah, it's not really. They were completely like just not interested. Yeah. You know, I showed it to them with like, you know, at a table at a meeting with all the councilmen. I mean, not the councilmen, the board members sitting there, and they were like, I showed them my mock-up, and they all looked at it and were like, it's not very good, you know. So then I remember Delilah Snell, who's the owner of the Roadless Travel Store in downtown. What I wanted to do is I originally wanted to create something more loose-based, something more free, something more cool, you know, which is what I presented to them. But they wanted something more, very commercial, very more corporate. And Delilah said, they're like, hey, you should make like a zine. Why don't you guys have like a zine for Santa Ana? And I said, in my mind, I was like, fuck, well, that's what I wanted to do. But I didn't say anything. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to say anything. This, you know, just let it go. I lost. Just let them do whatever they want. So then after the meeting, they told me, all right, what you're going to do now is you're going to do social media. You're going to be handling Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff for us. And I did it. And I did a pretty good job of it. They started getting a lot of people, a lot of response and all that. Yeah. And but then I started noticing at the meetings that they were kind of doing some funny business. You know, there was some funny things going on. And they were giving me direct orders to not promote certain businesses. People, you know, some of the staff members were giving me, like I said, orders to just not talk about certain people. But I would say to them, well, isn't Downtown Inc. supposed to be for everybody? You know, all the downtown businesses that are affected by the PBID. Yeah. The PBID is another story. But yeah, and then they said, no, well, yeah, but no, just talk about these people, but don't talk about these. So I started kind of thinking that was kind of funny, you know. I was like, okay, well, that's weird. So then I went to all the businesses, every single one of them, and told them, like, hey, do you guys know about Downtown Inc. and what they're trying to do? Are they talking to you at all? And they said, no, yeah, well, we do, not really. We kind of don't like them. And some were like, yeah, they talk to me sometimes. So anyway, so I said, look, they have these meetings that are available to all the merchants. You guys should come to them. They're open meetings, open public meetings that you guys can come and attend and state your worries, state your qualms with them, and say, hey, I don't like this. I'd like to see more of this. I'd like to see more of that. You have every right to do so. Do it. Here's the phone number. Just call them. And I'm just trying to do that. That was my job as the social media guy. I'm supposed to go out there and kind of network with these people and get them to like Downtown Inc. And when they would call it in, they would cancel the meeting. Or they would say, what meeting? Who told you about this meeting? Why are you calling? And that's it. And they'd just like hang up. Or they'd tell them like, no, you know what, the meeting's been moved or whatever. So they started being sketchy about that. And as soon as someone dropped my name, I got fired. I got fired immediately. And I was just like that, quick, with an email from Yolanda Lawler. She's like my supervisor above me. And I thought I was doing a good job and all that stuff. And I would go and talk to them and say, hey, well, what's the deal? I didn't get any response. So yeah, so that's what happened. And after that I was pissed. And so I said, well, screw it. I'm just going to make Santanero then. I'll make something that's my own and in my own fashion and, do my own thing. So that was my story with Downtown Inc. basically.
So it was basically the origin of Santanero?
In a way, yeah. In a way, they kind of allowed me to realize that it wasn't that difficult to make a magazine, assuming you have the right program, and assuming you have a good idea and a good rapport with the community.
Yeah.
You're good. Which they didn't have any or either of those. So I was able to do it.
Would you consider yourself the brainchild of Santanero?
Yeah, it was definitely my idea.
What made you come up with Santanero after Downtown Inc.? What got you into it?
Well, what got me into it, I guess, was just having a lot of free time on my hands, seeing a need for it, realizing there's a need for it, and being frustrated with what was happening in the area. You got this supposed nonprofit group that's just screwing everybody downtown. Not everybody, but a lot of them. And screwing the artists as well, because the artists weren't really getting that much. In the art walks, they had their art walks and all that, but where was the representation for the local artists, the ones that were there at the time? Yeah, they would get some foot traffic from this art walk that was suddenly getting a lot of money pumped into it, but where was their representation specifically for them? I didn't see it. I didn't see one, so that was why I started it. That was the main reason. It was out of just frustration, being pissed.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit when Santanero was established?
When Santanero was published, the release issue came out on Cinco de Mayo, 2012, and it came very close to many times to not coming out. We had a lot of trouble doing it. Once again, I had to go knocking on doors to print shops, asking for quotes. How much would it cost to do this? How much would it cost to do that? And everyone was just really high. Like, that can't, it has to be this much, it had to be that much. It was just this insane number of insane amount of money. Well, to me, insane amount of money. But yeah, and And we realized like because we had a plan like, all right, we need certain sponsors and we need to charge them so much for ads in order to get this money to have the issue come out. We wanted like 1,000 copies. And so we even went to this one guy named Limper out of Los Cristales bar. I don't know if you know where that's at. It's on Standard. It's on Standard Street, like by McFadden and something like that. It's on Standard Street though, Los Cristales bar.
Yeah.
And this guy named Limper, he tells me like, yeah, I can print your magazine. He was given to me. I called a bunch of people and I finally got his number. And he told me, yeah, meet me at this bar. I manage this bar. So I went, and he's like, yeah, I can print your magazine. I'm like, okay, well, cool, sounds good. And he told me a good price, very reasonable. I was like, yeah, it sounds good. Sounds good. So where's this place at? Where's the print shop? He's like, oh, I can't tell you that. Like, that's for me to know, and just do I have a deal or what? I'm like, well, I kind of would like to see the print shop. He's like, what? Look, man, I'm not trying to screw you. Anyway, so we went back and forth a little bit. I finally agreed. So then he says, okay, come back. I don't know. I think it was like a day or two later. Come back, so on and so forth. So I did, and he's like, all right, cool. I'm gonna print your stuff. You have it? And I give him my file. I said, yeah, here you go, man. I finished the file. We finished it. And he was like, all right. You got the money? I'm like, well, look, man, I'm gonna give you like a majority of it. I think I gave him like $500, something like that. Here you go. I'm an idiot. I give him $500. This complete stranger. Guy ends up taking my money and bailing to I don't know where. So we had to stake out the bar and make sure he came back with the money. We called his wife and everything. And so the guy ends up getting, that was one instance where something that almost didn't come to fruition. Another one was this one guy who I wanted him to give me some prints of Santanero. I wanted a mock-up issue. I said, I just want one mock-up. He said, oh, sure, I'll give you a mock-up. And he ended up giving me the roll that you guys have here at the history room. He ended up giving me a like crazy-ass big proof. He gave me a proof. It's like a huge fold-out sheet. And I was like, no, man, I need a mock-up so I can show the sponsors what it's going to look like. How am I supposed to walk around with this like rolled up thing and show them like, hey, this is what Santanero is and all that stuff? And he was pissed. He was like, you're not going to screw me, man. You're going to pay me for this proof. I did the job that you asked me to, and blah, blah, blah. He was like cursing me out, threatening me. He's like, I will destroy you and your publication and everything. I'll tell all your sponsors that you're a shabby businessman and all that. It was just awful. And finally we found this one place in Santa Ana. We wanted it to come out of Santa Ana, a print shop to come out of Santa Ana, not LA or anything like that. Yeah. And it was called Bravo Printing. They were our first print shop ever. They did the first 4. But the first issue was very, very close, man. And it came out, and we had to order it basically in just sheets of paper, glossy 100-pound gloss paper. And we had to fold and staple it all ourselves. We stayed up to like 3 in the morning maybe, the first night. The night before Cinco de Mayo on the 4th. Yeah. Folding and stapling every issue, putting it all in order ourselves. And we still do that to this day.
300 issues?
1,000.
1,000
issues. We had to fold and staple all of them. Every single one of them. And we, like I said, we still do that to this day. Fold and staple every single one of them ourselves by hand. It's cheaper that way.
Can you explain to us a little bit about your role within Santanero?
I'm the editor-in-chief. The editor-in-chief basically writes occasionally, does the layout, the majority of the layout. I mean, I have Ben help me out with the layouts as well now. I have Keeks help me out with the writing. He does a lot of the editing. But I'm basically the guy also. I also go out and talk to all the sponsors and get new sponsors. So I go personally and talk to El Maestro Transmission or Sharon and Sons Carpet or, Café Calacas, whoever. I talk to owners myself. I have to go and talk to them. Sometimes by email, but mostly in person. I'd rather do it in person. So that's my role. Like I said, I do the layouts. I edit a lot of the stuff. Manage the website by, telling our website designer to do all that stuff. I do all that stuff, like basically. All the general directing stuff.
That's pretty interesting. What would you say is your mission of your publication?
Our mission is to help the artists, basically, yeah, to help the artists. Make sure they continue to have a voice. give people a different perspective of Santa Ana as opposed to give people a different perspective of Santa Ana in writing as opposed to what they usually hear in the paper before the Santa Ana Register came out. Before the Santa Ana Register came out, a lot of the stuff you read in the paper typically about Santa Ana was bad, and we want to kind of get away with that. Get away from that. I'm sorry, and so that's what we want to do, is show the positive aspects of Santa Ana, the positive youth, the energy that's coming out of here. People like you guys who are doing positive work for the community. That's basically what we're trying to do.
I understand that Santa Neros places much emphasis on the arts. Can you speak about why the arts are so important to a community?
The arts are important because they make life that much more interesting. It makes life completely worthwhile living. Art is such a grand term. Everyone said that, of course, and I'm not the first one to say that. It's such a broad term. But art is everywhere, man. Art is everything. If without art, without some influence of art, you wouldn't have chosen that shirt.
Yeah.
Without some influence in your taste of art, without some influence in art, the sound in this tape is not going to, it's going to be mixed properly because it's an artistic form to it. The editing, all that stuff. Your writing, whatever you guys are writing, it's all your art form. And so, art is. Well, yeah, like I said, without art, life would be bland. It would be so bland. We wouldn't last a minute without art. We'd go nuts, I think.
Why is this specifically important in Santa Ana about the art?
Because ever since Santa Ana really started becoming this place with amazing architecture, and it started being recognized with this amazing atmosphere, like I said, the buildings and the streets, the housing, the houses that are here, just the different vibe of it. Ever since that happened, a lot of creative minds started coming here, and those creative minds basically started making the rest of the city mold itself around them and their mentalities and their likings. So it's important to continue to have those people here because, like I said earlier, the reason why people are so interested in Santa Ana now is because of those creative waves that happened, those waves of change, those waves of progression made Santa Ana very appealing and made Santa Ana what it is today, a place to be really proud of living in, a place that has a lot of innovation, not just in, even in the business world. I mean, you got coming soon is the tallest building in Orange County. You got a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the new restaurants that are in downtown, which is culinary arts. You got a lot of different, people being innovative in the culinary industry. And like I said, all of that is because of the fact that, the arts have always been predominant here, and that's why it's important to have them, to continue to preserve them.
What is your impression of the Downtown Artist Village?
My impression of the Downtown Artist Village.
Yeah.
It's a space that is not being used to its potential. I walk down that place a lot, a pretty good amount, and it's great because it's clean. It's not dirty. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying though, like, I wish that there was so much more activity there all the time. And I mean all the time. I mean 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
I wish that I could walk down that street, go get myself a beer at the gas station or something like that, or whatever, and I'd see an artist or a couple artists, painting on an easel, the buildings, the Grand Central Art Center or the fountain at 2 a.m. That'd be awesome. You don't need a permit for that. You can just set up your stuff and do it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that I think that place could be used a lot more often and should be frequented by more people of all walks of life and all different types of art.
Yeah.
You know, I love to go down there and see people. I used to, actually. It used to happen a lot back before security really kind of beefed up. You used to see artists there all the time, poets, you know, reciting their poetry, practicing their poetry. They're gonna sing it, or they're gonna do it at an open mic night, recite it. Art, you know, musicians playing all the time.
Yeah.
You'd see it all the time. A bunch of kids just hanging out and singing together and stuff like that. You'd see some kids, you know, just completely just chatting and socializing until all hours of the morning. But now though, and that was like 10 years ago, something like that. But now though, I mean, like I said, I wish it was being used a lot more often. Different types of art, and you know, fuck it. If it's art that's going to be, you know, also like an installation and stuff like that, without permission, I think that shows guts. I think that shows a lot of guts, and it shows a lot of just ganas. You know, a lot of like they want to be there. They want to represent their stuff. They want to be creative. I just wish it was more hustling and, you know, bustling.
Yeah. Is there anything that can be improved within the artist vision that you see?
Like I said, it's clean. It's a clean place. Nothing wrong like that. I can't say like, well, you guys need to put more lighting in there. It's well lit. If you're talking about little things like that, I don't see anything that needs to be really changed. Other than, like I said, more activity. Just more activity. More human beings walking around doing something positive, you know, something positive. I'm not saying go there and, you know, get faded or anything like that, because we had that too. That doesn't help, you know, but that's always going to be around. But I'm not saying they should have that, more of that or anything like that, or more permission to do that. I'm saying they should just have, you know, there should be a lot more activity. There should be a lot more acceptance of that. And, you know, if you're walking down there and you see somebody doing some cool stuff artistically or whatever they're doing, I hope that people just don't kind of make them feel awkward for doing it, because it's a community space. I really feel that way about it. You know, I think it should be embraced, whatever activity is going on down there.
Going out of like the topic of downtown Santa Ana, the art village. Can you speak about downtown Santa Ana and the notion of gentrification happening in the area?
Well, the notion of gentrification in downtown Santa Ana, it's definitely there. There's definitely that notion. Is it happening? By definition, yeah. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening a lot with the businesses. Some artists would say it's happening to them as well. Gentrification is something that is, I believe, only, you know, it's a word that just kind of came up about 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, it's happening, and it's very hard to stop it because it's backed by money, lineage, and political power. There's nothing really else to say about that. It's happening.
What is your perspective of the situation?
My perspective of the situation is this. If you want to label it gentrification, or you want to label it like evolution, or just business evolution, you know, that's up to you to label it whatever you want. I think you know, when businesses change, it's only natural. It's only natural that the business climate vary from decade to decade, right? But my gripe with it is this, is that there's a difference between it happening naturally, and there's a big difference between it being manipulated. If gentrification is being manipulated, in other words, I'm sorry, if the business climate in downtown Santa Ana is being manipulated, that's very different. If it was purposely done so that these changes would occur, if the climate was completely just toyed with, people were kept down, no leases were given, whatever you want to call it, a lot of backdoor deals, whatever. If that happened, if that's the case, and that's the reason why downtown Santa Ana is the way it is right now, that's a whole different animal. So whether or not that's true, that's still, like, you know, yet to be found. But I suspect it. I think it might be that way. However, though, that's not to say that I don't agree with some of the things that have happened in downtown that have, like, for example, it being cleaned up a lot.
Yeah.
That's great. I think it's awesome that it's being cleaned up. But cleaning up doesn't necessarily mean you have to put out certain people of certain skin color and a certain race and ethnicity. That doesn't necessarily fucking, work for me. Cleaning up means, picking up a broom, picking up, getting a sandblaster and getting rid of some graffiti and putting up more trash cans.
Yeah.
That's fine. But to say, like, hey, we're cleaning this place up means, hey, kick someone else out, kick you out, kick them out, and put something new and, new looking and fresh and all this and that for the purposes of saying we're cleaning it up. That doesn't really work with me. So see, there's that fine line in there. You have to really kind of spend some time looking at it and ask a lot of questions about that.
What are your reactions you hear about around town from residents, businesses, and artists?
What are some of the comments or reactions?
Reactions that you hear, like around.
I hear it varies, man. I hear a lot of stuff. I hear people say they love it. People say they hate it. People say it's fantastic. People say they don't care. People say it was only a matter of time. Some people say, what can you do? It depends who you ask. It really depends who you ask. Of course, if you're asking somebody who's, not doing so well financially, they're going to say they hate it. If you're asking somebody who lost their business, they're going to say, I hate it. You say somebody who's, driving around a Ferrari because of it or having a good time in the Aspens because of it, they're going to say they loved it. It just depends on who you ask, really. Like I said, there were a lot of winners and losers in it. So overall, though, I think mostly people have to say that it is interesting. Be it because they feel there's a conspiracy of corruption, or be it because they feel there's a conspiracy of it being, planned or whatever, or be interesting just because there's new life, there's new types of stuff happening. I think that would be the general way people feel about it. It's very interesting.
Back to the topic of Santana. Since you started it, what have you learned about Santana that you didn't know before?
I've learned that it's not easy to survive in this city. It's not easy. I learned that there's a lot of people with a lot of invested interest in the city. I learned there's a lot of good people too. I've learned that since I've started Santanero, I learned that there's a lot of people who really do care for the arts. That's one thing I did know also, and not just like regular folk, but I mean business folk as well. A lot of business people that really care about it. And I learned that the artists really, really would love to stay here and would really love to flourish here and make a living out of here. Not just pick up some fame here and then take off and see you later. But I actually would like to stay here and represent the city. I've learned that. Also, one thing I've learned is that I learned that it only takes one idea, one positive idea, a positive example of love for your community to really influence a lot of people. I mean, just alone, Santanero alone has influenced, I think, like 3 different zines, 3 groups to come up with their own zine. It influenced, I believe it influenced WCA to make their own zines. At one time that even I was there and helped out with it, with a cartonography project with WCA. I mean, I think that it influenced a lot of people. I mean, who knows? Maybe it even influenced the Santa Ana Register. I don't know. But I do know that it influenced a lot of people. I mean, I know it made people really kind of say, like, hey, this guy had no idea what he was doing. And now I want to do something. I know after us, one of our buddies came up with Modesto Briseño. He came up with, he's the brother of Miguel Briseño, who ran for mayor. Mm-hmm. Modesto. He came up with Kilson Street TV. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Kilson Street TV is a show that features bands from Santa Ana, local acts, and they have like comedy skits in between, and they interview them as well. It's a really cool show. It's very, very good show, and it's doing really, really well. That came out after us. They originally wanted to pair up with us and work with us and say, hey, we'll help you guys out with any TV stuff you guys want to do, any video stuff. And we said no. I said no, that's just not right now. It was too busy with other crap. But yeah, that came from there too. I think that they kind of saw that and said, well, this guy's not going to do it. We'll do it. But cool of him to kind of open up that door, the avenue. The fact that, like I said, this guy who had no idea what he was doing, and all of a sudden now he's doing something. Yeah. Be it successful or not, or be it big or not, but he's doing something. So we should do something too. I think it spawned a lot of creativity.
Is there any local artists, writers, poets, musicians that you think should be recognized for their work?
Absolutely.
Can you name some of them?
I'm glad you asked. Definitely one of the first ones on my list would be Romano Cadiz, grandson of Sergio Cadiz, who did some work in Santa Ana as well, a muralist from Santa Ana. Romano is great. Jovan Michael Kingsby. Jovan Michael Kingsby is an artist that lives in I'm sorry, edit that part out. He currently creates art, and he works at the Spurgeon Building. He's fantastic. He's doing a mural right now dedicated to Basquiat in Fullerton. And he's a great artist. So many people. Carlos Aguilar, the guy who did the mural for the World War II veterans over in Logan. Carlos Aguilar is a great artist. Great spirit. Carlos Reyes. Carlos Reyes is fantastic. Great artist as well. Dino Perez. Dino Perez is a guy who kind of started off with some simple work, nothing with too much depth, but all of a sudden now he's starting to come up with more depth, Roger Reyes does really good street art. Liz Zuniga. Liz Zuniga is a fantastic artist. She doesn't really put her stuff out there that often, but her stuff is really, really good. Selima Allen is a good artist. Really cool stuff. She uses a lot of different materials. There's so many, man. Matt Southgate. Matt Southgate's fantastic too. He does a lot of really cool stuff. I like his style. It's realistic, but just kind of slightly, I want to say maybe fuzzy or foggy or whatever. I don't know how to put it, but it's really, really cool stuff, man. There's a lot of different artists out there. I mean, if you look at any issue in Santanero, we picked them because we really liked them and really thought they need some representation. So, yeah, Joseph Hawa. Joseph Hawa has been in Santa Ana for decades. That guy loves it here, man. I don't know if he's been in Santa Ana for decades at least, actually. I think he's been there for at least more than 10 years for sure. Oh, yeah, definitely for more than 10 years. Yeah. But he's really good, too. He's over at the Santoro building. Alicia Rojas is great, too. Alicia Rojas. And Molina Mena, our cartoonist. She's from Santa Ana. I always thought her cartoon was going to take off. Sour Milk Sea. I always thought it was going to take off. It was great. But she said she doesn't want to be famous. So.
Yeah, it's understandable.
Yeah. Wait, no, it isn't. Get paid to do what you want? I'm kidding.
From what I heard, you accept any work, you accept work from anyone to be published in Santa Ana. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yeah. If we like it, we'll print it. As long as it's not blatantly racist or sexist or any kind of isms for that matter, we'll print it. If there's a reason you're being racist, if there's within good context, because I respect work like that. I mean Pulp Fiction has a lot of racist comments in it. Reservoir Dogs has a lot of stuff that's in it that's pretty vulgar, but it's a great piece of work though. A lot of different movies. uh, have a lot of just really racy stuff in it, but it's still work. It's still good.
Yeah.
So if you can think of a way to paint something and it's pretty gory or pretty graphic and all that, but if it works with what you're trying to do, the message that you're trying to put across, then we'll print it. But if you're just gonna want to rant about why the KKK is the best thing in the planet, or any group for that matter, then we're not gonna print that.
How could someone go about in contacting you to be published?
Email us. You can hit us up on any of the social medias as well, like Instagram or Twitter, anything like that too. If you follow us on there, you can email us.
Before we finish, I would like to open up to the audience and see if they have any questions that I share with you.
Okay, yeah.
My name is Victor Diaz, and you said you worked as a cook?
Yeah.
And what restaurant did you work in, and did you attend a culinary school?
I attended culinary art school for about a semester and a half, but I bailed because I wasn't learning anything, and it was way too expensive. Way too expensive. But the first restaurant I ever worked at, and I learned nothing. I didn't learn practically anything. And the only restaurant, the first restaurant I got to work at was Scott's Seafood. I went in there because I needed a job, and I just got a job as a dishwasher. I said, I'll do anything. I don't care what it is. All right, cool. Start washing dishes. And so that's what I did. And ever since then, I just moved up to pantry, just making salads and cold stuff, and then line cook. So that's basically where I started. But I've worked at other restaurants. I've worked at other ones, but that was the first one. And then I got fired from there like years later. But not because like I was horrible. Maybe I was, but I don't think so. But basically the chef that hired me took off. A new chef came in, cleaned house. You know what that means, right? Clean house. I was one of those things. And so then I came back after the old chef came back, Michael Doctolero. And so, yeah. That's where I cook right now currently still, Scott's, in Costa Mesa, yeah.
My name is Cynthia, and have you had your parents support every step of the way?
In terms of what?
Like what you're doing right now?
Well, yeah, with Santanero, yeah, they supported me more, but it's like one of the first few things that they ever supported me in, ever really. They were really never really interested in my projects. To them, they kind of wished that I would just like become a mechanic or become a scrub or something like that, or become anything that's like a trade that's easy. Just get a job. They're like, basically, just do something, man. Stick to one thing, because I was jumping all over the place. But so they weren't really supportive in my ideas. They were supportive of me and my energy and my spirit and all that stuff, but not my ideas. Except for Santanero. That was the first one they really they backed me up. So yeah, with Santanero, yeah, they always backed me up in terms of, hey, I can't be there for this and that. I gotta do this. Oh, okay, that's cool. Like, hey, look what I did. Check this out. Next issue or something like that. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So, yeah, they supported me out throughout Santanero, I would say.
This is Isabel. You mentioned you were in a band, music for a long time. Can you tell us about that experience?
Yeah. Like I said, I started playing guitar when I was 15 with my friend Danny, and we had our first band, originally called Euthanasia, and then called I Can't See the Forest. And then after that, we did that for a couple years. Band broke up as usual, and then I started just playing with a bunch of different people, different musicians. Just started really, different ideas and all that. I always played guitar. Pretty much. And then I met up these friends of mine. Well, they became my friends, but I met these friends at the Gypsy Thomas Ventura, Melissa Ayala, and my friend Jose Sandoval, who goes by Richie. And basically then just formed this band with them. They already had the band, and then I started playing with them. And that was a band that I really started playing a lot with. I was a lead singer and played guitar, and we went on tour and everything, like just in this area on the West Coast. We didn't ever do anything in the East. and went on tour and everything, and that was great. That was a lot of fun. Just hung out and played music and played all kinds of different venues. Different ideas were always flowing around. Then after that broke up as well. Then I started playing drums with Richard Bernal. Richard Bernal is a guy who always went by the name of, his band name was Devil and His Friend. And he always wanted a two-piece. So I joined that band. I was there with him, and we always hung out too and had a good time. And I started playing drums and I started playing shows with that. So that was interesting. That was new. That was different, And yeah, and we would go into recording studios. We'd go into practice studios and jam with all kinds of people, But it's been great. It's been awesome, You really get to express yourself a lot through music. You really do. So that helped out with a lot of frustration, as a young guy who doesn't know what to do with his life. It really helped out a lot.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. My name is Kevin Cabrera. My first question I wanted to ask you is, it seemed like you had a lot of difficulties and struggles starting up Santanero. What was your motivation, your drive to keep on going through and not give up?
I had to say that my motivation and drive was one big thing and one small thing. The one big thing was my love for the city. My love for the city and my pride in the city, right? Just that, and that encompasses everything with the artists. My love for their work and what they were doing, what they represented. And the small thing was that we opened our mouth about it. We put it online. We did it on purpose. We did that on purpose. We said, hey, we came up with this idea. It's coming out May 5th. So once you open your mouth about something like that online, you kind of feel this pressure to do it. This huge pressure to finish it and actually pull through with it. Otherwise, you'd be called, whatever. Hey, you didn't pull through. You wussed out or whatever. So that was the main motivation. My main motivation, like I said, was the artist and the city and what it represented and also personal pleasure, knowing that I was able to accomplish this goal. I set this goal up for myself. It's a huge task. To actually accomplish it was very fulfilling. So yeah, those are my.
Another question I have is, you said that you would like to see more activity happen in the Artist Village. In your opinion, what can bring about more activity?
The same thing as I said, as far as what Santanero was able to do. It just takes one person. It just takes one person to start it. That's it. Just one or a small group of people to start, to say, screw it, let's get some paint, some easels, some clay, whatever. So I'll get my camera. Just go and hang out. Let's go and hang out and do something there. Okay. Get out of the room with the television. Get away from the computer, your phone. Just create something. Just mess around outside. That's all it takes. And once that happens, I really believe that once that happens, it just it really starts to spread. People start seeing like, hey, I have an easel too. Or they'll find that person and talk to them and say, hey, you're cool. Fuck it, I'll bring mine next week. Cool. And then it start happening like that. And you start getting the ball rolling. That's all it takes. And it's crazy that it hasn't happened. To me, it's really nuts that it just hasn't happened. Like, how could you not take advantage of such a nice space like that? It's well lit. It's very inspiring. Lots of people there. Lots of, you get thirsty, you go to the Gypsy Inn or the Memphis or the Gas Bar or whatever. And you get hungry, same deal. They all give you food. What else would you want? You got an open canvas right there to mess around with. So that's all it takes to me. It's just one person to do it.
And my last question is, you mentioned quite a few times your love for the city. Why do you think Santa Ana is so great?
I think it's great because I know it so well. I think that's why, to be honest with you. I'm just so familiar with it. And I'd like to say that it's unique. Well, every city is unique, so that doesn't really make it unique in a way. I'd like to say that it's like the safest city in the world, but it's not. Or the cleanest, or anything like that. It's not. but it's where I'm from. It's where I'm from. It's what I know, and that's why I love it. That's why it's great to me. Because I know exactly where to go. I know where to hide. I know where to laugh. I know where I can go. If I want to meet certain people, I can go to this spot. If I want to do this, I can go to that spot. You know, and maybe that's another reason too. Maybe that's what makes it so great, is that I have yet to say, well, I'd like to, you know, I'd like to get this done. I'd like to have some of this, or I'd like to have some of that. Tile, woodwork, whatever, guitars, anything like that, music, whatever I wanted. I've always been able to find it here in this city. And maybe that's what's so great. It's like, you know, I know where everything's at. I know where I can get it. I know that I can get it. There's an abundance of outlets here, to me.
And lastly, before we wrap up, Eric, we've covered a lot, but if there's anything that we didn't cover, anything that you would just like to say, you can say it right now.
I'd like to say that if I were to ever leave Santa Ana for X amount of time, I'd like to come back, and I'd hope it would not be the same. Which is not asking for much. Of course it's going to change. But I would hope that it's not the same. I would hope that it's completely different. Because it'd be sad to see it still in this, you know, in a stagnated state where it's just not just creeping along, this change. I'd like it to be, like I said, one day go there and all of a sudden, like, bam, there's a ton of artists hanging out all the time in the promenade. And around the street or wherever. I like to go and all of a sudden I come back and it's like art is accepted everywhere. Art galleries are booming. Art galleries are open till late in the night. Something like that. So I'd like to, if like I said, yeah, I'd like to see Santa Ana change a little bit faster, just a little bit faster. I think people are being very cautious of decisions, and I mean the council. I mean the city council, the leaders of the community are very caught up in they seem to me like they're very caught up in their own fear or their own personal ambitions, and can't seem to just pull it together and have everybody move in one direction. It's just very hard, and it's very, that's practically impossible. I mean, how can you expect hundreds of people to move in one position or one direction, obviously, but that's all it takes just for all of us to just nod and, okay, yeah, we'll go here, let's do this, and then do it, and that's all it is. But no, somebody has to do this because they want that. Somebody's got to do this because they want that. They always want some kind of fruit of the labor, not the labor itself, not just doing it because of, but they want something else. And I think that I'd like to see Santa Ana finally just change. There's so much energy that's just kind of sitting around, but no one's actually moving it. So that's what I have to say at the end is, get off your asses and do it, Just do it. Make it happen.
Before we end up, is there anything you would like to say to the residents of Santa Ana, like, in general, or, like, is there a message you would like to pass on?
Something I like to say. I don't know. Don't litter, I guess. I don't know. No, take care of the city. Just take care of it. Take care of it and it'll take care of you, If you act like a prick to the city, it'll bite you back, man. And that's just the way it is, no matter what. That's just the way Santa Ana is.
Thank you for your time, for doing this interview.
All right, cool. Thank you.